The Zephyrian fleet emerged from hyperspace with the confidence of a species that had conquered 17 star systems in the past century. Their ships gleamed with impossible angles, hulls that seemed to fold space around them, and weapons that could unmake matter at the quantum level. Admiral Kextha gazed at the primitive blue world before them, Earth with the same dismissive interest one might show a particularly stubborn insect. "Physics breakers online," reported his tactical officer, tentacles dancing across controls that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. "Gravity nullifiers operational, matter dissolution cannons charged, temporal displacement fields ready." The Zephyrians had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most feared conquerors, not through brute force, but through technology that simply ignored the fundamental laws of physics. Their weapons didn't just destroy, they convinced reality that their targets had never existed in the first place. Their shields didn't deflect energy, they created localized pockets where the concept of energy was temporarily undefined. "Begin the demonstration," Kextha commanded. "Target their largest population center. We'll give them one chance to surrender before we erase their entire species from the timeline." The physics breakers hummed to life, reality bending around the Zephyrian flagship like heated glass. On Earth's surface, the laws of physics began to stutter and fail in an expanding sphere around New York City. Gravity became optional. Light forgot how to travel in straight lines. Electronic devices found themselves unable to remember what electricity was supposed to do. But something unexpected happened in the chaos. Dr. Sarah Chen, a quantum physicist at Columbia University, watched her coffee float upward while her computer screen displayed impossible mathematical proofs that 2 + 2 equaled orange. Instead of panic, she felt a familiar thrill, the same sensation she'd experienced as a child when presented with a particularly challenging puzzle. "Fascinating," she murmured, pulling out a notebook and beginning to scribble observations even as the fundamental constants of the universe shifted around her. "The field appears to be selectively targeting specific physical laws while leaving others intact. There's a pattern here." Across the city, similar scenes played out. A construction foreman named Mike Rodriguez watched his crane defy gravity and immediately began calculating load distributions for this new condition. A street musician named Lisa Park noticed that sound waves were traveling in spirals and started experimenting with impossible harmonies that somehow worked. The Zephyrians expected screaming, chaos, and swift surrender. Instead, within hours, they received a transmission from the planet's surface. "Unknown vessels," came a voice speaking in perfectly pronounced Zephyrian, a language that should have been impossible for human vocal cords to produce. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth. We've analyzed your physics disruption technology and would like to discuss terms." Admiral Kextha's subsidiary mouth fell open in shock. "Impossible. No species has ever adapted to physics breaker fields. The cognitive dissonance alone should have driven them mad." "Should we increase the field intensity?" his tactical officer asked. "Do it." The reality distortion doubled, then tripled. On Earth's surface, the laws of thermodynamics began arguing with each other, while electromagnetic fields decided to take a coffee break. But instead of collapse, the humans adapted faster. Dr. Chen had assembled a team of scientists, engineers, and curious amateurs in a makeshift laboratory where the periodic table was currently arranged in ascending order of aesthetic pleasingness rather than atomic number. They worked with tools that shouldn't function, using mathematics that redefined themselves with each equation, making discoveries that were simultaneously impossible and perfectly logical. "I've got it," announced Jake Morrison, a 19-year-old physics dropout who'd spent most of his life modding video games. "Look, their tech isn't actually breaking physics, it's just running a different version. Like when you mod a game engine. The underlying code is still there, they're just changing the parameters." Within the disrupted zone, humans began building devices that shouldn't exist. A perpetual motion machine that worked by redefining motion as a subset of stillness. A computer that processed information using quantum states that existed only on Wednesdays. A communications array that transmitted messages by convincing photons they were actually sound waves, with delusions of grandeur. The Zephyrians watched in growing horror as their ultimate weapon became humanity's ultimate playground. "Admiral," his communications officer reported with barely contained terror, they're improving our technology. The physics breaker field is now 300% more efficient, and they've somehow made it play music. Indeed, the reality distortion field around Earth now pulsed with a rhythm that could only be described as, what if? Beethoven's Ninth Symphony was performed by the fundamental forces of the universe. Then came the transmission that would be remembered in Zephyrian. Nightmares for generations. Zephyrian fleet. This is Earth. We've reverse-engineered your physics breakers and made some improvements. We call it the Physics Suggester 2.0. Would you like a demonstration? Before Admiral Kextha could respond, his flagship's hull began to flow like water while somehow maintaining perfect structural integrity. The bridge expanded into impossible geometries where his crew could stand on the ceiling while walking on the floor simultaneously. The tactical display showed enemy positions in a dance formation while playing what sounded like jazz. How? Kextha whispered as his ship's artificial intelligence began composing haikus about the nature of existence. Dr. Chen's voice came through the comm system, now somehow three-dimensional and tasting faintly of mint. You see, Admiral, you've been thinking about this all wrong. You tried to break physics. We just asked it very nicely if it wouldn't mind trying something new for a while. Physics, as it turns out, is actually quite collaborative once you get to know it personally. The Zephyrian fleet, their ultimate weapons turned into cosmic art installations. Their invincible ships, now powered by the philosophical implications of their own engines, retreated in unprecedented defeat. As they fled, one final transmission followed them into hyperspace. Thanks for visiting. Your physics breaker technology has given us some wonderful ideas. We're particularly excited about our new project. We're teaching gravity how to play the violin. You're welcome to come back anytime. Physics says it likes having friends. Admiral Kextha would spend the rest of his days trying to explain to the Galactic Council how an entire invasion fleet had been defeated by a species that had somehow convinced the universe itself to join their side. On Earth, Dr. Chen closed her notebook and smiled. Tomorrow, she planned to see if she could get quantum mechanics and classical physics to finally agree on what measurement actually meant. She had a feeling they'd work it out over coffee.